Joe, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
You know, it's the other day I talked to Jay Moore. I was on Jay Moore's show.
Okay, yeah.
And we were talking about you. And
Yeah.
he said that you actually stood up for me.
Oh, absolutely.
To him and said, you know what, he's a good guy. And he wrote the foreword to my book, and I went through that whole damn story again. The 9 millionth time.
How annoying must that
Oh,
be?
my God, I'm so sick
No,
of it.
I know. But listen, a good guy doesn't even begin to scrape the surface. I mean, you've been classy and just like treated me incredibly well. And it is, our lives are linked together forever.
Right. That's great. I feel good about that.
I know my parents they were annoyed. I mean, it had to be them. But this is like this was fate for us. But
It is.
I go back over that night, and I got to say, I do think, and you're very nice to me, saying that I didn't do anything that wrong. But I did in the sense that I went overboard. I went too far. It was HBO, and I thought I could be rated X, really, and that was the wrong call. But you know,
but as I've said to you 1,000 times, it's HBO at 10 o'clock,
It was a
11
late night
o'clock,
thing,
whatever
yeah.
thing. And the next show is like G-String Divas or Cat House 9.
real sex or
right.
something. Yeah,
Cornucopia 4. So you said bad words. You lit me up. I specifically went into the dressing room
You
before,
did.
and I
Right.
said, hey, when you come out there, light me up, have fun. That was my aim for that show, is to be edgy. And, you know, I really hoped when that thing was over, their response was going to be, hey, tune in next time. Who knows what you're going to see?
Yeah, exactly.
And I basically had to threaten to quit to get that little thing we shot in
Right.
Times Square to lead off the second show, which...
People don't remember that I'm on the second show. Yeah, you asked me if because I really felt terrible. You've developed a great impression of me along the way, by the way.
They're like, look, man, I'm sorry.
I called.
okay?
Wait, well, let me set this up. I called him up and left him a voicemail. And here it is. What is it?
He goes, hey, man, I'm sorry. I'm a comedian, man, and I got the first laugh, and I went a little overboard. And I never want to be in the way of somebody making a living, so anything I can do, I'm there for you, man. I'm sorry.
It's really good.
And so I was like, I know what you can do. Come on the second show.
Yeah. So we shot the beginning of the second show, but it really look, live television, and everyone I've talked to, everybody in comedy, Dennis Miller came on this show and said that's what it's about. Like, awkward television is fantastic.
Yeah, everything else is boring.
Right.
It sucks. I don't want to do it.
And quite frankly, that night, listen, it is so difficult to make a boring guest exciting. And I know you're a good man, and you're probably never saying this, so I'll say it. But Brett Favre, to me, left you hanging. I think Brett Favre, if he's not making a huge announcement, he's not exactly Robin Williams. You know
I agree.
And I think you guys thought maybe, because it was one of those 2 million times where, is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire?
Right,
and I think
but it was a big deal because he hadn't talked to anybody at that point. That was the only time I've massaged an interview and said, look, I checked in with him every 4 weeks. I was like, you still going to come? You still going to come? Because he didn't talk to anybody before he decided he was kind of going to come back and go to the Vikings.
Right.
So there was news there, and it led off, it was on The Crawl, on ESPN and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there was news there. But, yeah, I mean, Brett's just dry, and Brett was guarded. Let's say
he didn't know what to say.
guarded.
Like, I mean, well, listen. I think I was in the green room as a sports fan, hoping that he was going to say, "Listen, I'm coming back for sure," or something like that.
Right.
And I think that's what people thought. And then you have Chad Ochocinco, which, besides changing his name to a number,
Right.
is just one of those. He's a boring celebrity. He's like Dennis
He
Rodman.
doesn't think he is, though.
You're
Which
right.
is worse.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you heard this. I'm to try to get laid as much as him. I'm changing my last name to my cholesterol level in Spanish.
Which is...
It's Artie Cuatro dos Ocho. No, but
You're at 428. That's impressive. He's got shrimp po' boys waiting for you, pork rolls.
That might be my blood
That'll
sugar.
be nice.
No, but so you did as good a job as anybody could do with those two guys. And I'll even get one of my favorite moments in the history of Letterman. Cameron Diaz was on, and he had a similar problem you were going through. Cameron Diaz was on, and she told a story that was so boring. I mean, she's angelic looking, but Letterman just has such contempt in him. And the old Letterman used to skewer people like that.
Right.
And the CBS Letterman didn't really do that, but I think he had finally had it. And it's one of my favorite moments in the history of his 30 years. Cameron Diaz tells this story, and it bombs. And he lets it bomb. He doesn't throw her a life preserver.
Doesn't help.
Okay? That doesn't help at all. And there's like silence, there's awkwardness, and she's like kind of looking around like, what's going to happen? And he's not saying anything. And she doesn't know what to do. And she's almost blushing. And he looks at her after like 5 seconds and goes, so how do you like making them movies? And, you know, it's just, sometimes you can be a victim of a dull guess. And athletes, when they're dull, forget it. But, you know.
Well, you weren't dull.
No, well.
Let's jump to the end of the show. Dull you were not.
No, and now, Paul Rudd, did you grow up with him?
I knew him from the end of high school through college.
Okay, because you see him like you knew each other.
I knew him well. He dated my best friend's sister.
All right.
One of those things. So I knew him when he was at Kansas.
Okay. So you didn't know him from St. Louis. You knew him. Okay.
He grew up in Kansas City. He went to KU. So he was there. Sudeikis, I didn't know. Sudeikis is a good
Jason,
guy.
I didn't know at the time. He's become a huge star now. I didn't know who he was at the time.
Right.
But,
and they were sitting there like somebody cut their tongues out.
Listen, you're being a nice guy, but
whatever.
I went too far.
Fine. What? I don't care. Who cares?
First, Joe, your family was there. The first joke I made had the word "sea sucker."
Right. Right. So I had a lot of questions. I told you, I made the joke to somebody. I said, I preemptively wash my kids' mouths out with soap just because of what they heard and what could potentially come out of their mouths someday.
Well, I'm glad.
My daughter at that time my youngest was 8. She's like, what was he talking about?
God.
Yeah, that was nice.
No, but listen. I'm glad that you're nice about it. You say, and again, Ross Greenberg, really nice guy, and I'm such a fan of his work. And I feel bad because
but the reaction was ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous. They wanted you deported. They wanted you. It's
well,
like,
sometimes
come on.
You know this better than anybody because you have a sense of humor. Sports people, I find, take themselves really seriously, man.
It's so annoying, and that was the next show. It was 3 months later. I'm going into every venue, every stadium, and every time I'm walking in, some guy, Artie Lange!
What a nightmare.
Like, that's how I go into the game at Philly. Artie Lange!
In Philly.
In Philly. In New York. In wherever.
Well, no, because I was thinking of your schedule is insane anyway without that. So I was going in my head saying, because I had a crazy schedule with Stern and The Road, and I said, you're doing that show, preparing for it, because you probably had a whole writing staff and everything.
No, you would think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, really.
No.
Yeah. You need a budget.
Me and a producer and
well, listen.
some tape.
God, being yelled at Artie Lange too when you're.
Yeah, it's on. I'll have that for the rest of my life. It's why I shut down my Twitter. How many times can I read Artie Lange?
Oh, that must be great.
It's awesome.
Yeah, well, they yell out your name too, but it classens up my life.
You know what the worst thing is? I found out is what my last name rhymes with.
No, I know. Yeah.
That's
a tough
one. Bad. I learned it in first grade. I got it in first grade, and now. Because not only the obvious one, but sucks, everything.
Yeah.
It's like I can't get away from it.
Yeah, that's a bad rhyming scheme.
Right.